My I'm a burden story runs so deep, I almost didn't invite anyone to our wedding. Not even joking. Like my best friend Liz had to convince me to invite people because I was like, well, I mean, it's a Saturday morning. So just for context, um, Anthony and I got married in July 2020. And this was, pandemic. We couldn't invite very many people anyway. It was a small wedding. We only had like, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks to plan it. Like, and we moved to a new place. Like there was so much going on, right? And, I'm not like the kind of gal who has ever just been like picking out wedding dresses in my dreams. Like I like never did that. I had to be convinced uh, by my mom actually to wear a wedding dress because I was like, what do I wear? Like pants? I don't have any dresses. I didn't have any dresses really. None that didn't have holes in them. Because if you know me at all or my content, was an outdoorsy gal, a tomboy. Just didn't ever spend money on clothes or any of those things that I was told that I was supposed to really care about because I just went I grew up in the South, white girl in the South where I was supposed to be like obsessed with my looks. And so I kind of like went to the opposite way of like, no, I refuse. I don't want anything to do with this stuff. Right. And that was actually a very liberating experience to live in the wilderness, not have mirrors, not have like access to like, media really. So I wasn't reminded every day, like this generation and like all of the lip fillers and the both, like that wasn't a part of my generation. And even if it was, I was living and working in the wilderness, so I wouldn't have seen it anyway. Thank God, because I already had like an eating disorder to begin with. So I was told I should probably wear a dress, because it is a big deal, right? And I was like, yeah, but it's a small wedding. Like, it's only like 20 people there. We're gonna like, it's gonna be, mostly outside, and everyone's gonna wear a mask inside of the mairie, where you have to get married in the town hall. You always, like in France, you have to. And then you can go, like, after you do it, you go across the street to the church, or you go to somewhere else and then do it again. But you have to get married in the town hall, like with witnesses and everything, right? But my mom was like, first of all, no one from the US could come to our wedding because the borders were closed for like over a year, I think. And so, I don't know. I was like, I guess maybe we'll like have it on Zoom too so that, my family can be there. And then also my husband's, my father-in-law works for the mayor's office. He's like a volunteer or whatever. And he was going to be the one to marry us. And he was so like excited and honored to do that. Well, they wear a nice thing and like a whole sash, with the French thing, the French colors, right? I mean, it's very official, all the things, right? Like, and so, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. I'll buy a dress. And so I was like, I don't know, H&M, like, where do I get a white dress? Or whatever. So I basically kind of came to a middle place where I was like, all right, we don't have much money. I'll do some of this, but we'll do it our way, right? And so I did find a dress. It was a used gown, beautiful. Got period blood all over it while trying it on in the dressing room. So then I had to buy it. And then I rode home on my bike with my dress over my shoulder. It never occurred to me that I should not go wedding shopping on a bike. Anyway, this is all like so Melanie. But when it came time to like actually, discuss the ceremony, I don't know, like it's just so in me that like I'm a burden, right? So Liz, who couldn't come because again, borders were closed. That's my best friend that I talk about all the time. She was like, okay, well, like I will run the whole Zoom. I will send out emails. I will keep people like, let me be like, take on all this. You just, anytime you have someone that you may want to just invite, just shoot an email to me and I'll add them to the list and I'm going to coordinate it. So for like a week or maybe a couple weeks, but I think like maybe a week before, I was like, how about this person? Because I've lived in so many states. I've done so many jobs. I've lived in several countries. Like I've had like 9 lives or more. And so people I hadn't seen in forever, but at that period of time, like were really meaningful for me. And like, I have been to so many weddings. I'm still in debt from all the weddings I went to in my 20s, flying all over the country to support all my friends getting married, and most of whom which are divorced now, of course. I'm inviting all these people. So I just kept sending names to her. Like, I couldn't even keep up with who all I was inviting. I was like, I really like that person. I miss them. Bam, send it. And, it's no cost to them. It's not like they have to buy an outfit and show up or fly anywhere or literally do anything. They just literally have to tap a button and then, sit in their pajamas in bed and have coffee and watch Melanie get married. And I honestly didn't think anybody would come. Like, I remember, other than Liz and my mom and my stepmom and my, whatever. But I even thought I don't know, like my sister, that's early on a Saturday morning. It's, I know that's hard being a mom. So I hope it's not too early for her. Because I think it was 3 o'clock France time, which is, 9 a.m. East Coast time. And of course, if that sentence would insult my sister so much because she loves me so much. But she didn't even understand how deep this burden story goes. Like, I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want anybody. I want to put anybody out. Liz was like, Melanie, I promise you, your sister will be there. She will wake up whatever time. And I was like, yeah, you're right. She probably will. Of course, she was upset that she couldn't even be here physically. But this is and this was when I was like, what? I keep forgetting how old I was. 41 or 42. I can't remember how old I was. But just for anyone who's new here or hasn't heard this part of my story, I'm so proud of the work I've done on myself. But just so you know, even however many years ago that was, still have that burden story going so strong that I almost didn't invite anyone to our wedding, even though it literally cost them nothing to go other than an hour of their time. Right? Now, shocker, apparently people were not only excited to come, they were honored to have been invited, because a lot of them I haven't seen in a long time. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not putting them out. And also the codependent part of me is like, well, what if they don't, feel pressured into coming, and Liz was like, Melanie, I promise you, nobody thinks they have to do things just because you invite them the way you do. So if they can't come, they won't. And they know that it's not personal because they have this or that or the other. Whereas for me, and I've been working on this for a long time, is that, it's hard for me to say no. And it's hard for me to say no, even if I really can't do something because I don't want to hurt the feelings, And so I always assume that everyone goes through that whole process. Apparently they don't. Apparently when people can't do things, they just say no. Sorry, can't. And don't just spin and spin and spin over it, right? Now, that is not my default as much anymore, but it still pops up. Burden. Oh, I don't want to, whatever. So not only was my sister and my nieces and my family, my mom, my stepdad, my stepmom, all my family there on Zoom early, waiting to watch Melanie get hitched, which no one ever thought would happen, including me. But I think it was over 200 people from the US or from all over, but 200 people showed up from my life to watch me and Anthony get married. And not only did they show up, some of them dressed up like some of my comedy friends. A couple of them were in LA, which means this was at 6 a.m. their time. Dressed up, and one of them had Sharon, I love you, had a corsage, what do you call it? The big flower thing, that you wear prom and stuff. And it was so touching. It was so touching, and I was like, God, I can't believe that the point of this story is that not only do I rob myself of feeling loved and valued and appreciated by the people in my life, but it is it's really sad that I would think, and it's not because of them. These are all amazing people. I wouldn't have had them in my life. But I really devalue them when they wouldn't. I'm sure some of them would be horrified to think that it's okay. I don't know if you I thought that I was a burden to come to this major event. And for them, it was an honor and a privilege. Mind blowing. So I wish that we had other events that celebrated women. Book release, divorce, master's program where women really understand how much they're loved. Because other than like, I've been to a lot of, what do you call them? Baby showers, where me and all our friends, we show up and just celebrate this mother, pour into her, buy the stuff she needs, just love her and celebrate this major transition into a new adventure, right? And I just remember being like, oh, that's what these are about. Because I've never wanted to be a mom. Like, I'm never going to have one of those. And so I was like, wow, I guess like this is really cool that like this is a thing. Of course, in the United States, it's always going to be about capitalism. I am buying stuff, right? And same thing with like wedding showers or whatever you call them. Is that what you call them? Wedding shower, whatever it's called. Where you show up and you just celebrate this woman and this new adventure, which for a lot of women is actually like their funeral, right? Because they will die in that relationship because that man will not decenter himself and she'll be forced to center him unless she's got really strong boundaries, unless he's crazy about her. So a lot of times, a lot of these weddings are actually like social and little mini funerals for women, unfortunately. But I love a good wedding where I believe in the couple. They're very rare, but I love it. I love it. I love love, right? Like some people who follow me are like pissed when they find out I'm married. I'm like, I get it. It's a scam for women, the institution of marriage. But there are reasons why people do it. And for a lot of women, it is a security because without it, you're just living with your boyfriend who's going to screw you over. Like, anyway, I'm not getting that conversation here. But I love a good wedding where I'm like, oh man, that guy is crazy about her. And he seems to practice centering her, right? I can pick that up sometimes. I'm not always right, but the marriages of people where I was like, that man is like, he knows he hits the jackpot and it seems like he would not risk losing this woman. And I've been pretty right. I've been pretty right with those. But in general, I find most weddings to be pretty depressing, especially at my big age and having seen them not work out well for most women, right? And so I just really wish that we had other opportunities, because some women will never get married, and some women who did get married, who did get that celebration, that was it was the beginning of a nightmare for them, right? Which is why any woman who gets divorced, if you know a woman who's about to get divorced, throw her a divorce party, please, like, because that's when she needs money the most usually. And we already have the like having a child thing, but like just like in like these major accomplishments in our lives that don't have to do with men. Because I will say that as much as I like I have I've talked about this more. There's a whole thing about the wedding where I was like really like just like whatever, we're getting married, and then I was like, oh wait, this is a big deal. Like we gotta do some stuff, right? And I have to treat this event with a lot of respect because it's a big deal, and it I'm so much like a man. I'm so much like a man in so many ways. Where I was like, all right, we need a cake, huh? And then Anthony's like, can we get a heart-shaped cake? A red one? And I was like, okay. Like, he's like, because he's so sentimental. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Just, a cake's a cake. Like, it's just so funny. So many of the things in our relationship kind of shock people because, like, we just are like the weirdest upside down in so many ways. And, just non-gender conforming in a lot of things. And then I've also become a lot softer in this relationship and a lot more nurturing because I feel safe and I'm not being exploited, right? But I want, like, if I sell a book one day, that is going to be one of the biggest days of my life. That is something I have sacrificed more than anything in my life for. I have written several book proposals. I'm in so much debt because of all those book proposals I wrote that I hired an editor for and they didn't sell. If I ever sell a TV show or like any big thing that is literally my dream, that is something that I want to be celebrated for. And I really wish that weddings and babies weren't the only time that women in our society in general get to feel so loved by their community. I'm lucky that I got to experience that at our wedding. And I was shocked at how I was like, this feels so good. Wow, everyone's here to just celebrate me and us. Wow, right? But like, if I never had that, maybe I will never know what that feels like. So anyway, I'm getting a little off track here. But if you have a burden story, please work on that with a therapist or through creativity, because I know not everyone can afford therapy, but like this idea that of being a burden is literally like sabotaged so many things in my life. It has robbed me of so many amazing experiences. It has kept me from really being able to be vulnerable enough to take in love, because I just was convinced, for reasons that all make sense to me now, that like it's a burden to love me. It's a burden to like have to be in my life. Right? And it didn't help that my ex reinforced that story with, the threat say when he was like, they're going to find me hanging from a tree one day with a note around my neck that says, "This is what happens when Melanie Hamlet loves you." First man I ever loved. And then he faked his own schmooicide to even further that. Anyway, you're not a burden. Maybe you're like me, and maybe you overthink and you make things complicated and you sabotage things and all that stuff. And we're all learning and growing and everything. But I promise you, there are people that love you more than you have any idea. Right? But for me, I'm not sure I would have been able to take that in if any sooner. It was like, and my old me would have been like, oh my God. I would have almost hated it. The same way in the beginning, I was so uncomfortable with how much my husband loved me. I was like, what is this? And that's an inside problem of feeling like I'm damaged. There's something wrong with me. I'm a defect. I'm a used car that I have to try to sell, or just no one buy me because I'll ruin your life. And most importantly, a burden. That story literally almost ruined my life in so many ways. In so much self-destructive behavior, self-sabotaging relationships, sabotaging my career, sabotaging so many things. If you can identify with that, and then working on that might be a way to start changing all of it. Because that story, much like Inception, as much as I hate that movie, and I promise I used to love it, I'm going to give you that movie review. It's on the list, but I don't even know where to start because the list just keeps growing. The one thing I took away from that movie was that one idea, one story, they went through all that stuff to plan an idea, and that his dad loved him instead of his dad hated him, and they knew that would have a butterfly effect that would change how he operated in the world. And one of my old like doctor healer kind of guys, I don't know what you call it, but he really changed my life. He was like, you've got to get rid of this script. It's ruining your life. You got to write a new one. Even if you don't believe it, you got to start acting like you believe it, acting like you're not a burden, acting like you value yourself, like whatever, because this is ruining your life. Throw it out. This script, easier said than done, I know. Again, at the age of like in my 40s, I'm still like, should I invite anyone to my wedding? Like, it takes a long time, and it still comes up, right? Is anyone going to watch this video? I don't know, and people are like, oh my God, I love your stuff. And I'm like, oh, really? But I'm a work in progress. So are you. So are all of us are. But I know one person, not one person. I know one, you don't think I'm a burden, do you? Although you're a burden. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, these old thoughts, they don't go away easily. And they are a protective mechanism. Like IFS talks about, internal family systems. There's a reason why that idea existed, and it was a protective mechanism for a while. It was the ironic protector. It did keep me safe. But at a certain point, it did more harm than good. Does this make any sense? Let me know in the comments if this is helpful, if you want more stuff like this, or if not, because I have all kinds of stuff that I do. And please set notifications if you haven't already. Please comment, share, like, whatever, do the things. They all really, really help me. And I feel bad even asking that because I'm a burden.